class. In this video, I'm gonna talk about what we're working on this week and then do a quick lecture on level design. So we're in week 5 here. We are gonna keep working with Bitsy, but we're almost done. Next week, we're gonna start our playtest session. So we're gonna kind of move a little bit more quickly through this Bitsy section since we've already kind of gone through the process once. So I'm going to go over making a locked exit. I'm going to go over sound. And then for this week, you're going to make a post of your Bitsy progress. You should have at least 5 rooms or levels in the Bitsy game. And then next week, we're going to start our play test. So we're just going to have a week for that one. So we'll have to do it a little bit quicker. We'll publish the games next Monday and then do play testing throughout the week. So you should really think about this week as the last week that you're going to be working with Bitsy and next week as the playtesting week. So hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, in this video, I'm just going to talk about level design. So I'm going to go over here to this lecture. And like our other lectures, the goal here is just to introduce some basic concepts that we use in game design and try to give some examples. And so we'll talk about level design in general, and then more specifically, like what are the components of a level and what is a level, etc. So we'll start out there. What is a level? In video games, a level is typically defined spatially. So it's like a space that we are either playing our game or navigating through. That includes all the space that we can navigate in the game, anything that we can explore, any other components within that level. So in some games, like arcade style games, like we see Pac-Man here, you can actually see the whole level at once. And so in Pac-Man, we can see all the obstacles, we can see all the goals, we can see all the rewards, we can see everything and the space of the level all in one screen. And so the challenge is just navigating through that level without getting caught by the ghosts and getting all of the dots that we want to eat as Pac-Man. All right, so most games consist of a sequence of levels. Some games, again, like Pac-Man, it's actually the same space but with different properties, like the way that the ghosts move and the speed of things. But most games consist of a sequence of levels. Sometimes a level is just a section of like the larger space in the game. Typically, we have to defeat some kind of challenge or obstacle, puzzle, whatever it is, to finish one level and proceed to the next level. And then throughout the game, levels tend to increase in difficulty. So the first level should be relatively easy. We're just introducing the player to the mechanics of the game. And then as the player advances through the game, gains more skills, gains more experience, the levels get more challenging to make the game continue to be engaging. From a technical perspective, a level is really just a collection of data. So we can actually, I have my Bitsy game open here. We can look at the data. And you can actually see, here's my room, here's the name of the room, here are the items and the locations. That's really all a level is, in the background. And in game engines like Bitsy, other engines that we're going to use like Godot, that's basically what a level is. It's just a collection of data that points to different objects and different layouts in our scene. So the data kind of gives you like a little recipe. It's like, here's the layout, go grab this item from here, go grab this item from here, start the level, the player can move around, and everything moves from there. And so basically this is another example. This is a level, this is the data of a level using the Godot game engine, which we'll use later in the semester. And you can see it's just text. It says external resource. It's getting the player, it's loading the player, and then it's adding shapes and objects into the scene. That's pretty much all that is happening with a level. So it's really just a collection of data. We use level editors to make it visual so we can place components in different places. But you could actually create a level. If you look at Bitsy, you could write a whole Bitsy game just using text here. You can you can see basically how it's designed. Zeros represent blank spaces. A represents a tile. Let's see, B represents a different tile. And then we have items. So we have, item 0 at 9, 4. Exit, we have exit at 15, 13, and it goes to 2, 2. So it's all these just like, little pointers to different components and where they go in the room. So you could write a whole Bitsy game without ever using the level editor. But, in a practical sense, when we're making games, we want to see what they're going to look like. So we tend to design levels visually. Here's an example of a very early level editor. You can see that, there's basically the main components that we have. We have a big window where we place stuff into the game. We have a little tile sheet where we have different tiles that we can use for our level setup. And then we have like a list essentially of everything that's included in the level. So this is really early level editor, but it has all the basic components that we have today with modern level editors. Early on, most of these level editors were internal. This is actually a typo. This should say internal. I'm going to fix that real quick. All right, there you go. So early on in video game development, these type of editing tools were internal, meaning that companies that were making games would create editing tools for their level editors. So a programmer would create a tool, and then a designer would use the tool to actually build the levels that get shipped with the game. Now we have those tools have been made available to hobbyists and designers like us. So game engines have these built-in level editor tools. Sometimes companies will make their level editor tools available to people to use on their own. So ZZT is an example of like an early adventure game where the level editor was actually made available to people to use. They could create their own levels and publish them, and so that created a nice community of people who are making levels based on this level editor and sharing them with each other. Level editors have gotten a lot more sophisticated over the years. There's a lot more we can do with them, but at the core, essentially what we're doing is just organizing objects in our game in space. So this also happened with other games like Doom and Half-Life are both examples where the source or the level editors were made public for people to use. If you've ever played the game The Stanley Parable, this is made using the Valve engine, which is what was made to create Half-Life. And so it's nice because, Stanley Parable is obviously a much different type of game than Half-Life. Both are really great games that I recommend if you haven't played them. But the Stanley Parable is kind of more of like an essay in game form. It's more of a philosophical sort of approach to talking about what a game is. And so it's made in an editor in a tool that was designed to make a very different type of game, but we get this new experience. So that's one of the nice things about when companies or developers share these tools, other people can use them. Some games use a different style of level creation called procedural generation. This is like the Rogue game that we talked about in another video. And a lot of rogue-like games, as I've mentioned previously, use this style. So they use procedural generation. They use a program that takes elements and puts them together randomly. So you end up with the basic same idea, but the program sort of decides. So every time you play the game, you get a different outcome. You get a different set of levels with different layouts and different options. So most of the time we kind of we design a level and it's always the same. But in a lot of games, in roguelike games and other procedurally generated games, we actually write programs that will generate the levels for us. So that's another approach. Sometimes you can combine those approaches in different ways. Like procedurally generated games do have like designed elements and stuff like that. But those are kind of the two basic different approaches. Anyway, that's a little bit about level design. We'll continue working on our levels in Bitsy this week and add some more features and continue working on that project. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.